Juliet Capulet stands at the heart of Romeo and Juliet as one of Shakespeare's most compelling and dynamic heroines. Although she begins the play as a sheltered 13-year-old, Juliet undergoes one of the most profound transformations in Shakespeare's canon, emerging as a figure of bravery, emotional intelligence, and tragic idealism. Her journey from obedient daughter to autonomous young woman madly in love drives the play's emotional intensity and ultimately shapes its sad outcome. Role in the narrative. Juliet's narrative trajectory evolves quickly. When first introduced in Act 1, she is quiet, polite, and largely shaped by the expectations placed upon her. She has never considered love or marriage deeply. Indeed, she tells her mother that marriage is an honor that I dream not of. This early passivity sets the stage for the remarkable transformation that follows. Juliet's first encounter with Romeo marks a dramatic turning point. Their meeting is not just romantic, it awakens her sense of selfhood and agency. Juliet, once a figure who responded to others' wishes, becomes a young woman who thinks, decides, and acts independently with striking emotional clarity. Her role in the narrative is also crucial because she grounds the story with rationality and intellectual maturity. While Romeo is impulsive, falling in love at first sight, killing Tybalt in anger, and rushing into despair, Juliet consistently demonstrates emotional discipline and foresight. She questions the speed of their love, urges Romeo to be profound rather than simply poetic, and asks him to consider the consequences of their actions. Despite her rationality, Juliet's loyalty to Romeo becomes the central force propelling the tragedy. When confronted with Tybalt's death and Romeo's banishment, she manages to balance grief and responsibility, realizing that love and tragedy are now inseparable. Her determination reaches its peak when she refuses Paris and defies her parents, a remarkable act in Elizabethan culture. Juliet rejects her prescribed identity, choosing passion and personal integrity over obedience. Ultimately, she drives the final act of the play more forcefully than Romeo does. She agrees to Friar Lawrence's desperate plan, faces the terror of the sleeping potion with courage, and ultimately chooses death rather than life without Romeo. Her unwavering commitment makes her both heroic and tragic, and her choices crystallize the thematic tension between fate and free will. Symbolic significance. Juliet's youth symbolizes both the purity of first love and the vulnerability of emotional awakening. Her age intensifies her devotion and highlights the fragility of innocence in a violent world. Shakespeare uses Juliet's transformation from a protected child to a passionate young woman to symbolize how love can accelerate emotional maturity. The imagery in Romeo's descriptions of Juliet is the sun, positions her as a radiant, life-giving force. Light imagery follows her throughout the play, suggesting clarity, purity, and hope. Juliet's symbolic association with light contrasts sharply with the play's dark setting of secrecy, night meetings, and violence. In this sense, Juliet represents possibility and rebirth, even as her story ends in death. Juliet also symbolizes the struggle between individual desire and social constraint. Her defiance of her parents' arranged marriage, her secret marriage to Romeo, and her willingness to risk her life reflect the desire for self-determination in a world governed by tradition and patriarchal authority. For audiences, Juliet symbolizes the human struggle to find personal happiness amid rigid social structures. Broader implications. Juliet's experiences underscore the destructive power of social conflict. Her love for Romeo challenges the feud between the Capulets and Montagues, suggesting that inherited hatreds stifle personal relationships. Juliet becomes a figure trapped between family loyalty and personal identity. Her ultimate choice, loving Romeo despite the feud, highlights the human cost of senseless social divisions. In broader terms, Juliet represents individuals who suffer because they are born into systems they did not create, yet cannot escape. From the prologue's reference to star-crossed lovers, Shakespeare signals the inevitability of tragedy. Juliet's character offers a nuanced exploration of this theme. Although fate seems to dictate the lovers' deaths, Juliet frequently exercises agency that appears to challenge destiny. She chooses Romeo, chooses to pursue the secret marriage, decides to take the potion, and chooses to die. Juliet becomes a central figure in the play's exploration of whether our lives are governed by destiny or shaped by our decisions. Her story suggests a tragic blend of both. Juliet's defiance of patriarchal norms has lasting cultural significance. In her world, daughters are expected to obey their fathers, marry whom they are told to, and remain silent in the presence of authority. Juliet subverts these expectations. She speaks openly about her desires, negotiates her own marriage, and challenges traditional power structures. Her rebellion highlights the restrictive nature of gender roles in Elizabethan England and opens space for discussions of autonomy, self-expression, and resistance. Juliet thus becomes a proto-feminist figure whose voice resonates across time. Juliet's story also underscores the intensity and danger of unchecked emotion. Although Juliet is more measured than Romeo, she too becomes swept up in the momentum of their relationship. Shakespeare uses her character to show how passion can drive extraordinary courage but also tragic outcomes. Juliet's death becomes emblematic of love that burns too brightly for a world governed by violence and constraint. Conclusion. Juliet Capulet is far more than the archetypal romantic heroine. She is a character of depth, intelligence, emotional power, and symbolic richness. Throughout Romeo and Juliet, Juliet demonstrates an extraordinary blend of innocence and determination, rationality and passion. Her evolution from obedient daughter to autonomous and courageous lover drives the narrative and anchors the tragedy's emotional core. Symbolically, she represents youthful idealism, light in a dark world, and the struggle for personal freedom within an oppressive social order. The broader implications of her story reach into discussions of fate, agency, gender roles, and the human cost of conflict. Juliet's legacy endures because she embodies both the beauty and the fragility of love in a world that often stands against it. Her character remains one of Shakespeare's most enduring creations, tragic, inspiring, and profoundly human.